Kunle Soriyan company. His name is Kunle Soriyan. He's here to talk about what happens when a generation decides to rise. Please come on stage. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody. Those here and those watching virtually. Today is not the day, really, to ask questions about how the doer of deeds can do better or how the onlooker has not taken enough responsibility. Today will be a good day to ask questions about ourselves, about our souls and the commitments of our spirits. To ask questions about how we can be better. To take a second look at our environment. To look at our space that we have accepted for over 50 years called Africa. And to say what kind of components can we change? And how do we define our decency, our truth, our justifications going forward? We must first of all begin by accepting where we are. Our continent represents probably the largest single liability you can find anywhere. We produce what we don't consume. We consume what we don't produce. All of us know that there's no economy that can survive on that equation. For over 50 years, Africa has received aids from the world more than anybody has received, and we are still the worst poorest continent, telling us that a begging bowl cannot be a pathway to prosperity of any kind. And for every degree of favor that we seek, we lose a level of freedom. And for over 50 years, we've been trading this freedom for the small things that divide us. And we are not asking questions about the blessings that we can retain in our environment and the kind of inputs that we can bring in and solve problems such that the people of 2065 and the people of 2085 can look back at the kind of impact that we made in 2013 and 2014 and going forward, and look back and say that these guys have accepted the kind of responsibility that have defined the kind of peace that they have accepted. You know, I've been around for a while. I'm not too old, but I've seen 10 years 4 times. And having seen 10 years 4 times with some extras, you know, I've been around, I've spoken to different people, I've checked different environments, I've traveled around the country. And it will shock you if I tell you that every day I meet countless of Yorubas. Every day I meet countless of Igbos from the east. I meet countless of guys from the north on a daily basis. But after over 40 years, I am not sure I have met 10 Nigerians in my lifetime. Even though I meet thousands of Yorubas who claim to be Nigerians. I've met thousands of Igbos who claim to be Nigerians. I've met thousands of guys from the north who claim to be Nigerians. But if you find that kind of species that is willing and ready to make equal the borderlines of pain and bliss, to ensure that every atom of talent in the country, regardless of his background, is able to experience the kind of joy and freedom his individuality deserves. That kind of person that is willing to outgrow the smallness of prejudice and the smallness of sentiments and embrace bigger pictures about how our nation can be the pride of those who live now and for those who are coming after. Those kind of species are scarce. Those kind of persons are scarce. But then the history of evil and the history of wrong is always there for us to take a look at and question and audit. But the blessing of taking responsibility in the now, and then to use that responsibility to chart a new face and a new responsibility for the future, it's something that we always have before us. It means above everything, opportunity is always a possibility. And we have before us today another opportunity to take a second look at ourselves and to say that we can grow and we can be better. And for me, I think it is fantastic. It's not a time for us to begin to look for flawless characters. It's a time for us to disarm and for us to sit down and take on mental weaponry and begin to ask questions seriously that can govern behavior, and to let the young person know that the car is not a testimony. It's a tool of effectiveness. And it's the smallness of our character that makes a man acquire a thing and thinks that his life can be better because of it. It's terrible. We have to audit again our sense of mission and our sense of thoroughness, and ask questions about our morality, and ask questions about what the material can represent. Successful people in Africa have asked serious questions with their lifestyles that the young people who live now must answer. I tell you, I am not too inspired to tell young people about how well they can do and how much they can make money. Because if you learn to plan, for example, you can plan to sleep with my wife, or you can plan to steal. That is the nuisance of skills. And everything in this life, despite his wisdom, has the potential for nuisance and evil. And when people learn how to do something, to be a Bin Laden, you have to be a project manager of great capacity. And I tell you, a lot of skills are in the country. People are succeeding, but is society grateful? We now need the kind of inputs that can help us to come together and do the kind of deeds that society can be grateful for. And I think that is more critical. That at the end of the day, when you climb the highest mountain possible, and you flag the flag of your belief and your philosophy and your ideology there, it has to be that every voice in society can be grateful that you have done that. I think that is what's most critical, and I think that is what Gen Voices is trying to do. And I encourage everybody out there, those in this room, those outside of this room, to begin to consider that if at every point in time the best of our exertions does not pass the test of that kind of standard that says, can society be grateful for what you represent, then from the highest of the places we can attain to and the best of things we can acquire, if society is not grateful, we have just defined our smallness and we have refused to embrace the kind of fibers that binds us together and help us to move forward. I think that is critical. And the soul that will ignore that is a small soul, a small mind that is not fitting to take responsibility in the now and in the future, talk less of standing as a model for those who are coming after us to follow as an example. That's the way it works, and that's the way it must be. Thank you very much. This remains an opportunity. It's valued. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Kunle Soriyan. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a round of applause.